Right, good morning and welcome to part two of a very special assembly. Mr. Marsh asked me to do a list of recommendations for Easter holiday viewing that might be appropriate for all the different age ranges that we cover. So, first big thing, if I'm making a recommendation, I'm going to split it up into Key Stage 3, 4 and 5. So Key Stage 3 is years 7, 8 and 9, so about 11 to 13. Around about that. Key Stage 4 is 13 to 16, roughly speaking, and Key Stage 5 is above 16, so those are our sixth form students. It's basically so that we can avoid anybody writing in and complaining about all of the terrible language or violence that occurs in some of these films. So if you do have a very serious complaint to make, please check with the BBFC first, and then you can check with Mr. Marsh. Sorry, my little friend here, he's wandering around on the table. I don't have a cat, so instead I learned from Mr. Marsh that if you have a pet, everyone likes your video much more. This is Thor the tortoise, and that is a son of mine. He is a very grumpy tortoise. He's fed up, he wants to be outside a lot more, but it's just not warm enough yet, okay? Everything that I recommend here will be available on Netflix or Amazon Prime at the moment. Sometimes there's some good stuff on BBC iPlayer, and sometimes there's some good stuff on Disney Plus. But I don't own Disney Plus, and I'm not paying for it just yet because I've got enough subscriptions. If you do have Disney Plus, my challenge to you is to watch Disney's Black Hole. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. A terrible attempt to capitalise on the popularity of Star Wars. And the ending of it gave me nightmares as a child. So, yeah, have a go with that. Enjoy. So, let's get our first set of recommendations out of the way for Key Stage 3. So, first up, I really recommend Fighting With My Family. Fighting With My Family is an excellent film. It's a sort of great British true story that involves a little bit of American pizzazz as well. It's really funny. I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but watching this skinny girl from Norwich mix it with the likes of The Rock and all those American wrestlers was great fun. If you stick to the end of the film, you get to see the clips of the real family and how they behaved, and they were alarmingly close to representing them really well in the film. You're on camera again there, Ned. You all right, buddy? Yeah. Fighting With My Family is available to stream on Netflix at the moment. Next up for Key Stage 3 for family viewing is Logan Lucky. Logan Lucky is... who's he got in that? So Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, Riley Keough, Hilary Swank. It's a proper all-star cast, and it's a strange heist film, a redneck heist film, where a whole group of down-and-out southern American folk decide they're going to take part in just the biggest robbery that they can, which, of course, in the deep south of America, is robbing a NASCAR stadium. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's really funny, slightly odd, slightly daft, but really, really well made. A little bit like the Ocean's 11 film. It's got the same director, Steven Soderbergh, and that is available to stream on Amazon Prime right now. And my personal favourite is, it's just come back onto Netflix. We watched it yesterday, didn't we, Ned? Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin. It's Steven Spielberg's best film in just a long old time. It's a really, really superb adventure. You're right there, buddy. I'm just going to let him wander around a little bit. There you go. Steven Spielberg's best film for a long time. It will banish all the memories of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the... Oh my God, I wish he hadn't made that film. I went to the cinema to see that. It was a disaster. Instead, Tintin's really fun. It's really inventive and exciting, and it's the kind of it's everything that you want from a family film to sit down and watch together. If you can get past that weird motion capture of the faces stuff. Is he all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's on Netflix, and it's going to be on Netflix for the near future because it only came on Wednesday, so get that watched. Next up, time for the Key Stage 4 stuff. Is he all right? I'll bring him over here. There you go. Say hello to Thor. There you go, buddy. Look at that guy. This is how you win YouTube votes, right? And up votes and stuff like that. So, yeah, moving on to Key Stage 4. First up, we're going to have a little sci-fi theme for Key Stage 4. So first up is Looper. Looper is, I know what you're thinking, it's a Bruce Willis film. And he should be appearing to my left, I think, when I do the edit for putting these pictures up. Is it just like all the other Bruce Willis films? No. Looper is a smart little time travel film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's a fantastic actor as well. He's playing Brucey. Look at the weird stuff that they do to his face. It's terrible to see a beautiful man like Joseph Gordon-Levitt have all of these weird things stuck to his face, so he looks like young Bruce Willis. they play in the same role, and looping is the art of sending someone back in time to assassinate them so that you can never find the body. But if the looper doesn't kill their mark, then you've got a serious problem because you've got someone running around in the wrong time frame. Ooh, spooky. And all hell can break loose. That's streaming on Netflix at the moment. Second recommendation, Safety Not Guaranteed. Safety Not Guaranteed is a tiny little gem of a film. I really like smart science fiction. And in this film, a reporter finds this guy who's advertising that he can travel through time. And she decides to go and report on him, almost as if to make fun of him. But when she gets there, she finds that this guy, whilst he is a little bit funny and a little bit kooky and a little bit odd, he's also a little bit serious. And she starts to maybe, just maybe, believe some of the things that he's talking about. It's got some great performances from Aubrey Plaza and Mark Duplass. It's a little American indie, and Safety Not Guaranteed is streaming on Netflix at the moment. Now, my personal favourite, and this was recommended in my newsletter last week, and I'll come to more about my newsletter in just a bit, Midnight Special. Midnight Special is a smart science fiction film in which Michael Shannon plays a father who has to kidnap his own child away from a cult of people who seem to be worshipping him. Very strange, I'm sure you'll agree. While they're on the run across the country, strange things start to happen around the child, and you start to believe that maybe there is something odd or different or bizarre about his child, whereas Michael Shannon is just trying to protect him. As far as he's concerned, it's just his son, and he just wants to look after him. I'm not going to spoil what happens in Midnight Special because it's well worth watching on your own, but it's a kind of the kind of film that keeps you in suspense about whether or not this is a real supernatural, mysterious thing that's going on, or whether it's just everybody's gone a bit mad. Have a watch of it. Adam Driver's in this as well. It's a really good film. It's available to stream on Amazon Prime at the moment, and it's a little bit of a forgotten gem. So back again, and this time we're going to do Key Stage 5. And this is for more along the lines of the mature, the adults, the grown-ups, the sixth formers in the room. My first recommendation is The Death of Stalin. I will warn you in advance, there is a remarkable amount of swearing in this film. It is almost unbelievable how much they manage to swear in every given sentence. It's often quite creative, but it's certainly really, really frequent. So viewers of a more delicate ear might want to swerve it, but it's also really, really funny. It deals with the death of Big Joe Stalin over in the USSR, and it gives you this the comedy angle from writer-director Armando Iannucci, who's really famous for writing bits of Alan Partridge, and he's wrote The Friday Night Armistice, and In the Loop, and The Thick of It. He's just a really, really funny writer, and that's what this film revolves around. Really funny writing and people shouting and swearing and getting very tense around each other. The ending is really, really dark, so you have been warned about that. The Death of Stalin is streaming on Netflix. Secondly, Zodiac. This is a more popular film that might have slipped by you a few years ago. David Fincher is an absolutely incredible director, and Zodiac is his deep dive. That's my daughter screaming to get Cumulo, the cloud monster, to come and visit her. Isn't that strange? Zodiac is David Fincher's deep dive into the murky investigation carried out by the San Francisco Police Department into the Zodiac murders, a serial killer who sent loads of weird cryptic clues to the police. Also inspired the film Dirty Harry with Clint Eastwood. It's a fantastic cast. So you've got Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, and they're all struggling to make sense of this series of murders. It's really creepy, it's really unsettling, and it's filmed by a total master in David Fincher. So enjoy that. It's streaming. Zodiac is streaming on Amazon Prime at the moment. Say hello, Phil. Are you all right? There we go. Finally, my personal favourite. This is a favourite of mine and Mr. Garth's, my good friend Mr. Garth. We both love The Night Comes for Us on Netflix. This is violent. This is extraordinarily and very creatively violent. And at times you will be wondering, like I was, how did they manage to film it? And how did people not actually get hurt? There will also be times where you'll be wondering, how can you throw someone out of a car like that against a brick wall and they are not suffering long-term permanent damage? I don't know. I have to assume that the health and safety laws in Indonesia are a little bit more relaxed than they are over here. But this gangland revenge thriller. It's got a ton of rough around the edges, semi-martial arts, or sometimes just really rough fighting, and more machetes than you can shake a stick at. And as the bodies pile up, it just gets more and more creative, more and more inventive. It's really well filmed. It's really well made. It's by the people who made The Raid, or The Raid Redemption as it's sometimes called, which is also available to watch at the moment. You should watch both of them because they're amazing. The Night Comes For Us is Netflix original, so it's available to stream on there at the moment. And then the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, say hello, I thought you were going to go away now, right? The last thing I'm going to talk to you about is my newsletter, The Watchers, that I've been writing with another teacher, Mr. Moreno Melgar, he's a friend of mine. The Watchers should be sent out with the letter for this, the newsletter for this assembly, and it's got recommendations for Key Stage 3, 4 and 5 films, and it's also got some recommendations of short films that you can watch, and on top of that it's even got places where they have competitions for people writing reviews, magazines that you can download. I try to put as much information on there as possible. There are 3 issues of it out so far. I'll try and get all 3 of them sent out with this newsletter, and there'll be a new issue every week. So thank you very much for listening to Mr. Warrington's guide to what you should watch as films. So this is going to tip my cup of tea over now. Stop it, oi, you, give over. And have a good break. Don't get too mad in the quarantine from the coronavirus stuff that we're doing at the moment. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.